The CircuitPython Parsec today, I want to show you how we can fill between two buttons on our NeoTrellis display. Now, the core of this will work on any of our Trellis or NeoTrellis driver boards. I've in the past been showing the NeoTrellis M4, which is this one here, built in 8x4. But I put together this Mecha Trellis, which I mentioned on Show and Tell last night, which is the same idea, seesaw board on there, uses all the Adafruit NeoTrellis code, but this uses mechanical key switches, and it's a custom board, and I'll show a link to that after. But on this Mecha Trellis, or on a NeoTrellis, what we have been doing is lighting up different of these buttons when we press them, and I'd also been doing some starburst effects, running hit one and then light up their neighbors. But I'm thinking about putting together different kinds of MIDI controllers and sequencers and things like that. And one thing that can be useful is to be able to launch rows or columns with a couple of button presses. So what I've got right here is if I press one button and then another one, let's do just a short little row in the middle here. If I press this blue button first and then this red button, we're going to fill, we'll start with the blue. We're going to fill that little section from first to last. So I'm essentially specifying two vertices. Let's fill in the line between them. And I have this working on columns and rows, and it ignores any sort of diagonals or things like that. But if I just want to run straight across, then I press two buttons and we zip that color from the first to the last. So how this is working in code, if you take a look in CircuitPython here, I have typical NeoTrellis and multi-trellis setups. This is actually considered to be 4 trellis boards. And so we set that up as there are 64 buttons on here, and I have 4 trellis, NeoTrellis drivers on I2C and their 4 addresses. So I've soldered their little address jumpers so that I have 4 addresses. So that sets up this trellis as a multi-trellis. I'm setting my brightness, I'm creating some color definitions for different colors I might want to use, and also a second little list of a dim version of them. Generally with NeoPixels, it's better to do a dimmer version of a color versus trying to mess with brightness, because that's universal and it's a little slow. So I have a couple of those, and then I have a color table. This just defines the 64 buttons in sort of a friendly way here that I can edit and set the initial colors of these, as well as the colors that they go to when pressed or toggled to bright or dim. And then I've got a few helper functions here. One of them converts my X, Y button positions to the 0 to 63 grid, and this just, I have it going in both directions. So this just helps me call up things that are a big list or point to a coordinate on the grid. Then I have the playback LED colors. This is just what happens when I start up. So if I hit reset here, you'll see the first thing I do is light them all up and then dim them all. So that's just what this playback LED colors function does. Here is the key thing for today, is this fill between function. And this takes in an X and a Y coordinate of 2 buttons. And then what we do is we check to see, are these on the same row, or are they on the same column, or neither? So if the Y1 and the Y2, so that's the first button's Y position and the second button's Y position, if those are the same, then we're going to go ahead and proceed and fill in the rest. So what we do then is take the 2 coordinate points and determine which one is on the left and which one is on the right of those X positions. So that's how I use this start X and end X. Then for that range, we just run through and turn them on. So trellis color, and we set the color to whatever the first button's color was. So yellow or green, whichever of those has been pressed first. Same thing happens in the vertical. It's identical. It's just using Y instead of X. And then we have a little callback here for checking when NeoTrellis buttons get pressed or released, and then we can use those in the main loop here for this little rising edge, falling edge callback. So trellis activate key. What are we going to do? Well, we've pressed a key in the main loop, we're just constantly checking to see has anything changed. And that's standard NeoTrellis stuff. But this is the key thing right here, is just this fill between, which can be useful not just for this type of hands-on mechanical key switch or NeoTrellis pad, but anytime you want to fill between two objects, you can just loop between those in a column or a row. And so that is how we can create horizontal and vertical effects on our trellis inside of CircuitPython. And that is your CircuitPython Parsec.